Hello, everyone. Two things I'm seeing in my various sources today, and I think those are good topics to cover because it's been a while. So, first of all, this article on the BBC website, which I strongly recommend, talking about the cost of this war to Russia. So far, last year, 2024, was the deadliest for Russian forces. As far as anybody knows, at least 45,287 people were killed. It is very possible that those numbers are low. And we talked in the past about why it's so hard to get accurate numbers, particularly from the Russian side, because they lie, because they hide and or destroy the bodies, because they forbid the families to talk about their loved ones who may have been killed at the Ukrainian front. So you see how that might be a challenge. So what is remarkable about this is that this level of casualties on the Russian side in 2024 was 3 times higher than the first year of the invasion and exceeded losses in 2023, during which the Battle of Bakhmut was taking place. The estimate is that Russia is losing at least 27 people for every kilometer of Ukrainian territory they capture. For those of you who don't know what a kilometer is, 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers, approximately. And remember, I told you that people of Ukraine, among other things, are angry with Russia for starting this war because an entire generation of Ukrainian children now grew up in fear, and an entire generation of Ukraine's young people have been killed at the front. The question becomes, Russian people, how do you feel about this? How do you feel that the true number of your losses might be anywhere between 165,000 and 235,000 people? These are your young people too. These are your men and women. This is your generation of people who should be in college, who should be becoming professionals, who should be taking jobs. How do you feel about this? Because Ukrainians didn't start this. You did. This is your brilliant leader who got you into this. So, as I said, it's a good article. I think it tries to put human face on Russian casualties. But here's another side effect of all of this. After all of the atrocities committed by the Russian soldiers in Ukraine, after all of the pounding of civilians, after the murder of children, you'd be hard-pressed to get Ukrainians to treat Russians as human beings going forward. And I don't blame them. Even as the casualties in 2023 rose to 37,633. Even as Russians lost over 1,200 people in one week in 2024, between August 6th and August 13th. even as that was happening, anytime another Russian drone or missile or bomb hit another Ukrainian school, hospital, kindergarten, playground, shopping center, apartment building, and there were photographs of destruction and corpses scattered around, including corpses of children, there would be gleeful reaction all over the social media from the Russian civilians saying, hey, good on us, get them, hit them some more, bump off those Ukrainian kids so they don't come after us when they grow up. So, while this article tries to humanize what is happening on the Russian side, I think if you were to ask Ukrainians, they would say, yeah, and all they have to do is refuse. All they have to do is not sign up. All they have to do is lay down their weapons and go home. There are thousands of them out there, the soldiers. They can refuse to follow orders if they truly realize that this is a complete waste for their country, that this is an unfair war, that it is an invasion and it needs to stop. They could just stop. But they're not. They continue to sign on for money, for whatever. The primary excuse is money. The convicts are signing up because it gets them out of prison. And that way, serial murderers and rapists, that is documented, get to go and murder and rape in Ukraine and remain unpunished. So yeah, you would be hard-pressed to get Ukrainians to treat these people mentioned in this article as human beings. There's some good news. We have some additional artillery shells coming in from the European allies. This is in the Guardian article from today. This is from the Czech defense companies. And that program has been going on. Again, glad the Czechs remember what it was like under the Soviet Union. So they're helping out and they have been brilliant. Ukrainian forces struck an electrical equipment factory in Bryansk region, which is closer to the border with Ukraine. The factory is currently not functioning. It is no longer operational. Again, the border regions have been warned. You have been turned by your own government into gigantic military staging areas. That's how you'll be treated. And there are occasional forays of Ukrainian drones toward Moscow. Again, I don't know if they are hoping to hit anything seriously, but I think those are still dispatched for psychological effect. And it's working because Russians are getting really jumpy. Nobody gives any credence to Putin's Victory Day truce. Nobody believes it because why? We have no data to support that he would observe it. And then this last bit, this is very important, folks. This is where I encourage Europeans and Americans to pay attention. This bit talking about Moscow using disposable people who are recruited online to carry out acts of sabotage, arson, and disinformation in Europe. Sometimes against specific targets and sometimes kind of scattered about to affect the public. So that is happening not just in Europe. While the acts of sabotage, the physical impacts are happening in Europe since it's physically closer and easier to get to. The disinformation, the cyber attacks are happening both in Europe and in the United States. And those of you in the United States who have seen the state of our cabinet and our national security will understand why that is a problem. That is no longer in Ukraine. It's outside. More to come.